There are three constants: cold, work, and the moan. The first is an ever-present danger. The second is our best weapon to fight it. And the third is proof our weapon is working. The tools we have built to preserve us from the ice and snow are keeping them at bay. The world we knew ended 10 years ago. The great frost descended, and the cold never relented. There are no more seasons, no more warmth. Things we took for granted in our old life: food, trees, comfort, are difficult to come by. It is a hard life, but it is the only one we have. We go forward, day after day, driven by the same words that spurred us on since we migrated north. The city must survive. Frostpunk, the award-winning video game from 11-Bit Studios, is becoming a tabletop role-playing game from Catalyst Game Labs, longtime publisher of Shadowrun and BattleTech. This society-building game pushes players to consider what they will do to preserve the fragile communities that they have built. Take on a variety of roles, from medic to engineer to hunter to explorer and more. See what you can do to build a society, confront crises, and overcome dangers of the continual cold. The choices you will face will not be easy, but they cannot be avoided. What will you prioritize? What will you value? If you keep hope in your people and reduce discontent, you can build something that lasts. But if things go poorly, people will let you know. You could find society crumbling around you and perhaps be exiled into the cold with no hope of return to warmth. Using the new Dice Core role-playing system, the Frostpunk role-playing game offers an easy-to-learn, fast-moving system that puts your character's decision at the center of any session and allows you to try and build and maintain a city that somehow manages to hold people together. Back now for your chance to play an entirely new kind of RPG.
Hey everyone! Can you see us? Can you hear us? Okay, I see it just transitioned over. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Whew. Whew. How are you, Stephen?
I'm fine. We're all fine here. We're all broadcasting in the clear, as they say.
It's funny, like, so I started streaming in 2019, I think, and it's the one thing now that, like, something is always gonna go wrong, and so I just don't get mad about it or upset or it's not worth it because it's gonna be audio. I had one time with audio where like everything was working on my end and I had to reboot and then it was all fine, like, because even though it should have worked.
I've dealt with this sort of stuff in the day job. It just, sometimes things just break, the magic smoke escapes, and you just gotta try again and hope that works.
So dumb. Thanks, technology. I've told people when I'm trying to learn the Matrix and Shadowrun, like computers are real life magic to me, and they have emotions, and most of them are angry. So it's just doesn't work all the time. Like I can do the things, I know all the buttons to push, but how it decides to work or not is funky. But thank you guys for your patience. Thank you all for being here for another Tuesday Newsday. I've got the wonderful Stephen Toropov with me.
Hello.
Am I saying that last name right?
You are saying it as right as it can be said for a name that is not fully any real language. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cool. So, yeah, I've got some news for you now that I'm all scatterbrained. So let's go through news, and then we're going to talk to Stephen about writing for BattleTech and 2 upcoming releases, one very, very close, and the other in January. So my news for you guys, if you haven't joined the mailing list for Catalyst, you should, because a newsletter is going to come out tomorrow that gives you all the info and the links. But I'll talk about it here because I'm just going to. We have a Black Friday sale. So this is going to be launching at midnight Eastern time on Friday. And it is going to put a couple of select items on sale for 50% off. So let me get you that list that I had nice and pulled up, and then my computer had to reboot. So, Stahl, talk about how excited you are about a Black Friday sale.
I mean, one of the things we'll get to is Hinterlands is the first hardcover source book that will be published with my work in it. Not the first one I've worked on, but the first one that will publish. So the fact that my first published hardcover source book is going to be the Black Friday release is like, I realize it's just how the timing worked out. It wasn't like somebody looked at it and says, yes, Stephen's work particularly should be the Black Friday release. But it's really cool that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So the list of stuff I've got is BattleTech Essentials. We're finally releasing on our web store tomorrow. And then for Black Friday, it's going to be half off. So it'll be $12.50 USD. Clan Invasion box set will be on sale for 50% off, so $25. Shadowrun Edge Zone Magic and Mayhem will be half off. Shadowrun 6th World Companion and Shadowrun Anarchy will all be half off. And then for board games, Centurion and Seasons of Arcadia will be half off. So that is going to run from midnight Eastern time on November 29th through December 15th is going to be that sale. So, yeah, join the mailing list and it'll give you all those links so that you can click directly on them. I just got the updated newsletter because we send each other tests and give feedback and stuff. And all the boxes have little bows on them.
Yeah.
It's cute.
You should pick up Essentials if you haven't. I also wrote on that, so it's also very fun.
Awesome. And also, just to let anyone looking to do some holiday shopping, the deadline for store orders to get them by Christmas, hopefully, they think they can pull it off, is December 15th. So that's dependent, of course, on carriers, and it's the busy time of year. But if you can get your order in by December 15th or earlier, you should have your order in time for Christmas. Should you celebrate? Okay.
Or other appropriate winter holidays.
By December 25th, whatever that means to you.
Exactly.
All right. So that's our holiday sale. To join the mailing list, by the way, you can go to catalystgamelabs.com, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see a place to put your email address in, and then releases. So it's been a fun adventure. I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. I think I did. So Randall got back from Australia and like the last leg of his world tour visits for the year and stuff like that. And then he got every sickness that he did not manage to get on the way. Like he was out of commission for like 2 weeks. The
man shook a lot of hands this year, so
yeah. So apparently, once he was feeling well enough, if not fully recovered, He and I took a look at the release schedule for all of the stuff that's coming up. And we did have to move some things around based on inventory at PSI, what has arrived already versus and then sell sheets, what needs to be communicated and everything. So I have a bit of an update for you guys, which I also had up and now don't. So let me go pull that up real quick. You can stall again for me.
Stalling intermission. I had my one free in the chamber stall, and now I'm gone. Hi, don't you love BattleTech? Oh look, I've got old. Do you remember this guy? This guy I've had for 20 years.
That's
Not
awesome.
exactly 20 years, probably. I think it came out in 2005 or 6, so like 18, 19. I don't know. I got it from the original box.
Oh, neat. Oh, that's awesome. I had to wait for YouTube to catch up because I've got 3 monitors and YouTube is the only one with camera up right now while I was looking for what I was looking for. All right. Thank you for stalling. That was delightful.
I'm always ready to do a random dance on the internet.
So tomorrow launches Hotspots Hinterlands, which we'll talk with Stephen about today. And BattleTech Essentials. You'll see Hinterlands on our web store on Friday. And then December, the only launch we are going to have in December is the Barnes & Noble exclusive for McCarran's Armored Cavalry. It is in stock. It is happening. It is ready to go. And then finally in January, we did manage to get a second release date. It's 1 week earlier than the one release date that PSI gave us for January. So January 15th is going to have the second Star League Assault Lance Force Pack, Ilkon's Eyes Only, Union class map scale dropship, Overlord class map scale dropship, Overlord C class map scale dropship. And then on the 22nd, pending Kickstarter fulfillment, of course, but our communicated plan is Mercenaries box set on the 22nd, Inner Sphere Recon Lance Force Pack, Battlefield Support Recon and Hunter Lances Force Pack, Battlefield Support Assault and Cavalry Lances Force Pack, Clan Cavalry Star Force Pack, Salvage Box Mercenaries, Salvage Box Battlefield Support, Map Pack Savannahs, and Battle Mat City HPG Heliport. Whew. That was a lot of words.
It's going to be a busy January.
It's going to be a busy January. I can go on if you guys ask me to. I can go on and tell you more of what's coming in March, February, March, April, and so on. I can do that as part of Q&A, but I do want to get to Stephen here as quickly as possible. And then PAX Unplugged. I finally got the stream scheduled, so you can look on Catalyst's YouTube channel and subscribe or follow the stream so that you get notified when it goes live. But it's the first stream is gonna be Friday of next week, which is February. When am I? December 6th. And we've got quite a schedule for you guys, which I can also pull up. This is tentative as I get all of our guests going. But I sent it to the folks at Six Sides of Gaming are going to run it for us. So I need to find that one. I sent a lot of emails on Sunday, so give me a moment. There it is. All right. The stream schedule. So Friday, we're going to start the stream off with Leviathan's announcements and chat. Then at noon, this is all Eastern time because we'll be in Philly. BattleTech announcements from 12 to 1. 1 to 2 is BattleTech fiction. So I'm having John find us some fiction authors to bring on that have stuff to talk about. 2 to 3, we're going to chat about BattleTech Aces. So that's going to be, I know, much anticipated. And then from 3 to 5, we're going to play a co-op game of Aces with the Linvander team. And from 5 to 6, we're going to do a solo mode BattleTech Aces game. So that'll be fun. Then on Saturday, we have a redacted first time being announced at PAX Unplugged, so you'll get to hear about that. It's something brand new. Our minis players will get some excitement out of that. Then we're going to do our RPG announcements at noon, Shadowrun announcements at 1, Shadowrun Fiction at 2, and then I've got the cast of World of Shadows able to join me from 3 to 6 for a very special version of World of Shadows. So that's all I'm allowed to hint at for right now. So you can check that out.
So this is the one where the dare dog comes out at the end, right?
Yeah. And then Sunday, we're going to do our board game announcements. We've got some cool partnerships. I know we've talked a little bit about Kung Fu Panda partnership, and we have some cool games coming up, cool board games for 2025. And then we're going to actually have some of the devs from Paizo and Pathfinder on to talk with us about Runefire. And then we're going to do an actual play of Runefire for the first time, showing that off as we gear up for a spring or summer Kickstarter for the Runefire board game. So really excited about that. That Runefire, for those who haven't heard, is if you knew about Shadowrun Crossfire and then Dragonfire, that was a skin of the game that we did with D&D, and now Runefire is going to be a Pathfinder skin of the D&D with lots of new things to look forward to. So, whew.
Do you need a moment to like take a breath after like the massive list you just ran through?
There's been a lot of words in the news today. So between the release schedule and the pack streams, oh my.
A lot of very cool stuff coming that we're finally getting to be able to talk about, which is like
Whew. All right. Well, if you have any questions about PAX Unplugged, about anything that I've mentioned so far, release schedule, and so on, please put them in the chat and tag Lorcan, who is our mod. And then we will come back to that for Q&A. But for now, I want to talk to you, Stephen. And you sent me some art. So I'm gonna put back up, first of all, the art for Hinterlands that I showed last week with Joshua, because it's gorgeous and deserves to be shown again.
Absolutely just jaw-dropping, the art from this book.
And then you gave me an art piece, so I'll let you know when I'm going to bring that one up as I get it set up here. But why don't you tell us a little bit about Hinterlands? I know you were part of the stream last week, so you know what Joshua talked about already. Mm-hmm. What has been your part in Hinterlands and getting that rolling?
So, So my part of Hinterlands was, I'm primarily in the like source book writing side, the like plot, and I hesitate to say narrative because there's narrative fiction, but like the world building side of the writing stable. So Josh came to me as they were putting, the team was being putting together. We're getting the Ocean's 11 crew together to make this book as cool as we possibly can. And he came to me and said, "Hey, we need to like set up a new, like, we're going to do a mercenaries book in the Hinterlands. It's going to be, based on the old Hotspots book. We need to have something that'll be a like central hiring hall, like the original Hotspots book had a like chapter on outreach, which is the like, BattleTech Mech Warrior mercenary hiring hall par excellence. The like historical, like, this is a planet literally run by the biggest mercenary company in the galaxy. They're, like, it was a very cool thing. And he was like, we need that, but for the Ill Clan era and for the Hinterlands specifically. And so he kind of set me aside, and I was kind of vaguely looking at the like actual hotspots as they were getting written and worked on, mostly so I could kind of like, build some stuff into it, but mostly I was off on my own doing this kind of dream project of, hey, invent a planet from scratch and make it the coolest place you can possibly find to write a like adventure in. This was, for me, it was the brief was, hey, You know all those D&D books you loved as a kid that had like the Adventure Town where you can set up and find a million adventure hooks? Write that. And so the, Mech Warrior, BattleTech, D&D playing nerd in my head who's always, been there since age 14, just constantly going for it, was like, yes, yes. And about 7,000 words later, Almatassan existed all of a sudden. Well,
Awesome.
it had already existed. Ray had given us like, here's a planet. It's a name on a map. There's no details. Go.
Awesome. Cool. So a lot of excitement about this book coming. How did you? I want to kind of take a step backward in time. How did you start writing in general? Writing for BattleTech? What's your story, Stephen?
So it all happened one summer evening in 1992. No, no. So, mm, uh, my BattleTech story is, like I said, from this guy here. I got in. I joke sometimes that I'm like the youngest person in the writers' room, and I've only got 20 years of BattleTech fan experience under my belt. I got
You
in.
noob.
I'm just but a wee bab. Um, I got in around 2002, 2003, 2004 when MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries was like a big PC game that my friend's dad had MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries in the like joystick setup, and that I would like go over and play. And then there was the blind box WizKids game that was coming out and was like the big thing to buy at like the local comic shop as like this, and me having been a big fan of Gundam and Robotech back in the day was like, giant robots in a miniatures game? Tell me more. And then that we go on through the years to the point where my entire bedroom floor is covered in MechWarrior Dark Age miniatures and set up in their own giant battle that is my entire bedroom for like a year. And then, we go on and on and on, and here we are, 20 years later, and I'm writing for the game, getting to do kind of live out my 14-year-old writing dreams, because I remember that last year, well, not last year, last week. What is time, man? What is time? Last week, Josh said that his high school teachers would be very surprised to hear that he is writing books. My high school teachers would not be. I was the kid who took 3 English classes senior year, and
Oh wow.
the teachers were like, you're going to write a book someday, not just like it's going to happen. So yeah, here I am with my bachelor's in poetry of all things, writing about giant robots.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So I have your art piece ready.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna put this up. What is this art piece? And tell us where it is and why.
So this is the Hinterlands piece.
Yes. Or no.
Yes.
Yeah, the Hinterlands one. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is also my background. This is the opening spread to the chapter in Hinterlands. If all the chapters have like big spreads. Josh showed the one with the cows last week. This is the spread showing the uh, that opens the chapter on Almatassan, the hiring hall world. And it is showing, there's actually a short story that Brian Young wrote that shows this moment of the 21st Centauri Lancers Special Operations Company coming to this world that is just a total pirate hub and trying to clear it out and realizing, A, we cannot clear out these pirates. They will be back immediately as soon as we leave. And B, this is a totally viable planet for us to just set up shop on. So let's work with them and set up a hiring hall here. So this is, you can see in the background, it's this big ruined city. I'm moving because it's also my background, but it's this big ruined city with this dome overhead, and there's, this is the coyote there is Captain Rosen Douglas, the commander of the Peregrine Lancers, who I don't think many people have realized, like, they're not totally new. They're in Shrapnel 15. If you want to learn more about what's happening in Hinterlands, pick up Shrapnel 15 and read some of the stuff in there. There's more than you think already out there. But it's them, you know, finding Almatassan, this just complete new wilderness urban jungle that's just ready for people to move in all of a sudden.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. What else do you want to say about working on Hinterlands? I want to ask you about some of your other projects and then go to the newest one. But anything else you want to say?
I mean, I think I mentioned earlier, this one, like, I've worked on some very fun projects over the last couple of years. This one felt very special to me because, it was getting to just create a world and create like, at one point, we had to come up with the Peregrine Lancers, this special operations company for the 21st Centauri Lancers, which, is like, I got the challenge coin here. They're like big, one of the storied units in BattleTech history, and Josh was like, "Yeah, I just need you to come up with like their equivalent of the Black Widow company. Just make that happen." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, some people who are really paying attention might notice that Rosen Douglas is not a totally new character, because I am the way that I am and the nerd that I am. She was actually introduced in as a MechWarrior Dark Age unique figure because I wasn't going to let the fact that there were 21st Centauri Lancer miniatures from MechWarrior Dark Age go uncommented upon and let that story thread languish in, obscurity that it totally could, because remembers the dossiers from MechWarrior Dark Age, but I do. I'm that nerd. So there's a lot of that sort of storyline coming into it, and there's a lot of that same kind of like environmental storytelling that I had a lot of fun working with, of like, what is this place and what does this place tell us about BattleTech, and how does BattleTech tell us about this place? And I'm talking in very vague terms because I want people to explore it, but it's also like, this is a setting that you're gonna see more of. Like I mentioned, Brian Young wrote the short story, one of the short stories in the book, introducing it. He has got other projects going on that are coming out with, that have Almatassen as a major setting. If you like, I don't know, the Fox Patrol, you might want to pick this book up because they may or may not be spending some time here soon. So,
Cool.
that's the sort of like, this is not going to be outreach. It's never intended to be outreach, but it's not going to be a one and done thing. This is a place that's going to matter.
Well, and it's par for the course that the BattleTech lore is so deep and intertwined and everything else. So it shouldn't be unexpected that you'll see this again. Awesome. Awesome. So, before we get into the new item, what else, like you mentioned you've worked on Essentials. What else have you worked on? What were your contributions?
So I got in writing for Shrapnel. Back, I think it was like Shrapnel 3 had just come out, and I sent Phil a thing being like, "Hey, I don't know if I'm a short fiction writer, but you've got these like magazine pieces in your, these like game pieces in there. Can I try writing one of those?" And Phil very graciously gave me a little bit of runway to, like an 800 word piece. Just like, sure, cool, give it a try. And that worked out, and I've been in, at this point, over half of the Shrapnels. I had a very good streak there going for a while, and then there was this big other project that like necessitated taking a lot of my time, and I couldn't. I had to miss a couple Shrapnels, but such is life. Uh, my wife proposed to me in Shrapnel, so it's been
That's so cool.
yeah, it's been a big part of my life. It's so that's one of the big projects I've worked on. As I mentioned, I've worked on Essentials. I've done a lot of the pilot cards over the last couple years. Worked with some of the devs on that. So if you enjoyed, say, the Legendary Mech Warriors 3, the Bounty Hunter pack, that pack gave me some gray hairs, as did the Proliferation Cycle pack. So I hope you all really like those packs and enjoy the pilot cards from them, because they took years off my life. But it's a lot of those kind of small stories, and then built up to working on several projects, some of which I can't talk about. They're not ready for the public eye yet. And like I said, Hinterlands was the first project that like has hit published street date of like, this is a hardcover book with my name on the writing writing line for at least part of it, and so that this is a very, very big project for me, but it's not my first rodeo as it
Cool.
goes.
Well, let's go into your newest upcoming rodeo. I have another piece of art that you shared with me. So this is going to be the cover of Ilkhan's.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pull that up, and I know that Ray has you on a leash on what you can talk about. So I'm going to defer to you in terms of questions of what is this project and what are you allowed to say.
I mean, so for the uninitiated, if you've never heard of it before in your life, which is fair, Ilkhan's Eyes Only is going to be the fourth of the cycle of source Ilkhan era source books that kind of move us to 3152, mid 3152 as the where BattleTech's plot line is. It is so it's finishing off the cycle that started with Tamar Rising, Empire Alone, Dominions Divided. It is the fourth of that cycle. It's been a long time coming because we really wanted to get it right. And it is going to be focusing on Terra, on everything that is going on with the newly created Ill Clan, whatever that means, and the newly created Star League, and whatever that means, and the Capellan Confederation, which probably doesn't think either of those things mean very much at all. And how those two factions interact, because those are two factions that have been riding high for a while, and what happens when they have to come head to head, which they've never had to do before, which was a very fun kind of thing. That was one of the fun parts about writing the book, was a lot of things where it's like, this feels like a thing that should have happened before in BattleTech, but somehow never has. So we get to, all these years later, we're still telling firsts, but also on some very historic ground for the franchise. So expect that story. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, besides that we worked really, really hard on it, and I know that there's a lot of people have questions, a lot of people have expectations, a lot of people have what they want to see or don't want to see in the book. We did our darndest to make this the best BattleTech source book we possibly can. Infinite props to Josh Perrion, the developer on this one, who worked his butt off to get this working, to get all of the mechanics, because by the time I'm writing it, all the decisions for the plot have kind of been made, and it's up to me to make that decision into an interesting thing to read. And there is a lot of love in this book and a lot of effort into this book. We put so much work into it.
Awesome. Awesome. That cover is epic. So
it's a good one.
I'm excited to see it come out and see how it does. We've got some great books coming between, again, the release dates for these are Hinterlands releases tomorrow and will be on our web store on Friday. And then January 15th is when we're looking at Ilkhan's Eyes Only. So hooray! Thank you so much. Let's flip over to questions while I pull that up. Anything else you want to say about your work, about these products?
I guess one thing I like, this isn't anything of a spoiler about the book for Ilkhan's Eyes Only, but just an amusing kind of story about it is that we were last year we do the Catalyst demo team does the worldwide event, and last year's worldwide event was a battle between the Capellan Confederation and the Wolf-led Star League. And so I was running the worldwide event at a local convention, and then I got this message of like, hey, we want to tap you to help write on this book. We got to set a date for this meeting for the team to get together to write Ilkhan's Eyes Only. And there were two options for the date, and one of those options for the date was the date I was supposed to run the worldwide event of the thing that was going to be in Ilkhan's Eyes Only. And so I had to very cautiously tell my local players, like, hey guys, I might have to duck out in the middle of the game for 2 hours. Don't ask me why. And it did. We ended up working at the other time slot, but it was just very amusing to me at the time to be like, I'm sorry guys, I can't run this game. I need to write it.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to flip on over to questions. I've got a couple for you.
Okay.
Corehammer asks, which part of Hinterlands are you most excited to get out in the wild?
I mean, I'm excited to get well, like the easy answer is Almatassen because I poured my heart and soul into that place. It is, designed to be a like RPG setting for ages and ages to come. One of the things I didn't get into is that I'm a big fan of BattleTech, not just as a wargaming setting, but as a role-playing game setting.
Cool.
I love playing Destiny. I like playing the Time of War. I have played BattleTech setting games in all sorts of sci-fi games. It is like I love BattleTech as an RPG, and I very much consciously went into Almatassen as like you could set an RPG here and it would be a perfect hub for that. So I'm very excited for that. But also like, outside of just that very selfish part of me liking that part of the book, I think the thing I'm actually most excited for is that the whole book provides a really great, like, as Josh said last week, like great pick up and play. Everybody's building their mercenary campaign. You can just go to the local game store and say, "Hey, we're playing Hinterlands. I've got my size 1 force. We're doing this contract. Let's go." And just everybody will be able to, like, you don't need to worry. No translation of who's doing what or what era or what. Like, it provides a really great framework to just pick up and play the game of BattleTech, which makes me very happy.
Awesome. Okay. Next question from Jason Ames. What is the timeline span for Hinterlands?
Hinterlands takes place within the timeline of Tamar Rising. There, as Josh mentioned, there's like maps literally in the book showing over the course of Tamar Rising what different planets are controlled by who. It's not moving the timeline forward any, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of new interesting stuff there. The Hinterlands is defined by being a place where there's lots of stuff happening and anything could be going on, and just because it's the same timeline and this is not a book that is designed to be like, it's not trying to be Tamar Rising. It's not trying to beat Tamar Rising. It's a companion to Tamar Rising.
Yeah, it's like in space. You'd think a whole lot of different things could happen in different places since they're so far apart.
Turns out the Hinterlands is a big damn place, and even if you know what's happening with GE on Sudaten, there's like 47 other planets that are just like a name on a map. What's going on there?
Yeah. Awesome. BattleTech question from Andrew. Do we have any updates on the audiobooks? I did mention last week. I don't personally know. There's a separate company that does the BattleTech audiobooks, and I know John's been working on them. I don't know what the timeline for release was, but I know that there were some holdups there. I know that for Shadowrun, we have submitted, my company does those, and we have submitted, there's one that's supposed to be releasing this month, but Amazon keeps rejecting it for dumb technical reasons, so we keep fixing stuff and resubmitting, and so it could be accepted and up there any day now. We have one for next month as well, and then January, we have a plan right now for one every single month. We are working with John to see if he wants to, there's a chance he may want to space that out a little bit more, but we'll see where we are. But we do have 2 Shadowrun ones. One is turned in, the other one is about to be turned in, and then I'm not sure where the BattleTech ones are. I should follow up with John if we have any release dates for that. Matthew asks, are there plans for the BattleTech RPG in the near future? Not that I have heard of. It is not something that if it gets brought up at the PAX Unplugged stream, I'd be surprised. Like, I'll be genuinely surprised because I haven't heard anything about it. I know there's ideas floating around. I don't know what work has been done behind the scenes, but it's not close for release as anything or anything that's been communicated with me. Do you know something, Stephen?
I know that a lot of love and effort is going into trying to provide the best BattleTech role-playing experience that we can. I know that I can't say anything more than that without bringing down the wrath of Ray on my head.
We don't want that.
People are working. There's like, we're not forgetting role-playing games in BattleTech. We won't forget it as long as I'm even vaguely involved, as if I make any decisions. I don't. I'm a peon. I'm a word monkey. But It it's not getting forgotten. I can't say anything more than that.
Okay. And then another question from Corehammer: any traction on Lev's minis concerns? I'm vaguely aware. I know the community has been talking with like on Discord and in and online and stuff. I know that it's been brought up to Randall from the moderators and some of the social media team. So I think we're kind of watching the pulse of the community, but also like Randall's doing his own looking into things and stuff. So I don't know much more than that right now. But as soon as we have an update, you will. Any other questions? I don't see anything coming in. We are a whole 8 minutes early and we started so late. So I feel like I need to fill the time.
I mean, I can talk more about either of these projects, dancing around the things I can't talk about, but like
Please.
there's a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe. Hinterlands and Ilkhan's Eyes Only, again, I've both of these books coming out represents like months and months of my life that were spent working with a team of incredibly talented writers, developers, and artists to make this happen. So I'm like really excited about this. The Hotspots books are really, really cool, and I think that a lot of like I'm into it because I'm a story person, but I know that Josh and Ed have put a lot of work into making the gameplay for that work really, really well. And so I'm really excited to sit down and play their work. So that's going to be really cool. The I'm really excited to see what people think of Almatassan and the stories that happen there. Because again, it's not, there are more stories to come here. If you're just a fiction junkie and you're like, oh, hey, this Hinterlands book, it's more of a game book. I mean, it is, and I'm always going to suggest people pick up and play BattleTech because it's a fun game to play. But if you want, if you're just a fiction junkie, it's still worth picking this book up to see the setting that is going to show up more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be fun.
Uh,
Um,
Jason has a question for you that popped up.
okay.
Will players have to return to the Mercenary Star for new contracts, or is there a system in the book to get contracts off planet?
I don't know totally off the top of my head. I know that there is a system for randomly generating contracts that like Almatassan is the like framing device for that system of, oh hey, you run out of hotspots to do, or you don't like the ones that are on offer right now, just go to Almatassan, roll some dice, and come up with a random one. I don't 100% know what the like game mechanics of do you need to physically go back or not. I That's the sort of thing I think you can usually hand wave, frankly, at my table, but like it's definitely there so that people can have new jobs show up. And there is a robust, like, random generation of contracts in the book.
Since you work behind the scenes on this, and I know we may not be able to say a whole lot, but you might know more about this than I do. Any word on the supplements that bring the Force manuals up to the Ilklan era?
I know that Josh Franklin is working very hard on them.
Okay.
That's about all I can say. I know everybody wants them to be out soon. I know Josh wants them to be out soon.
Do you know, are they full supplements or more like an errata?
They're not an errata, although there are also there's also errata for the main books. Those will, that always happens. But this is, I don't know the exact thing. It's more than just like a couple of pages. It's less than a full second book, somewhere in between there. That's the best. That's the best I got. I'm not like I work with Josh Franklin a lot on stuff. I have not worked on the Force manuals directly yet, so I hear from him on how he's doing on those projects because that's what happens when you're talking to somebody you're working with. But it's not something that I directly have worked on yet.
Okay. I see your question, Turbo Turtle, about Den of Wolves. I'm messaging John about it. I haven't heard anything in a while. I know that there was like some more energy being put on it, and I don't know what's happened since then. Um, so I'll see if he responds. Um, Corehammer. Oh, nope, I skipped one. Not Metonymus. Sorry, that was hard to say. Any news on Runefire? We are looking at when to launch a Kickstarter for next year. I mentioned this at the beginning of stream. It's probably going to be spring or like late spring, early summer. And then the at PAX Unplugged, we are going to have on Sunday, we're going to do a chat about Runefire and its development with folks from Paizo. And then we're going to do an actual play for the first time. So it'll be the first time ever anyone we've shown anything about Runefire publicly. And the new expansion for Shadowrun Crossfire, I don't know much about it. I haven't heard much. It is probably more behind the scenes that in conversations than I'm privy to, so I don't know much about that. But I will send that to Jason and see if I can get an answer. Stephen, do you mind if we go a couple minutes extra since we started late? Now that we're getting all these questions in?
I've got plenty of time. If there are more questions, I'm happy to answer. Happy to bloviate some more about Ilkhan's Eyes Only in very broad and Ray approved terms.
Yeah, now that we're getting questions, I have that guilt about like, oh no, tech didn't work and we started like 10 to 15 minutes late.
I'm fine time wise. We can go as long as we need to.
Any news on the new expansion for Crossfire? All right, I sent it. We'll see if we get a response. Den of Wolves, nothing to report from John. Corehammer asks, what is your favorite mech ever, Stephen?
Oh, I should have prepared for this one. Oh goodness. So weirdly, I don't know that I have my answer right now. I know that my first ever answer to my favorite mech answer would have been the Ghost, which I think I am the only human being on the planet whose first favorite mech was the Ghost. But that was me. Again, I was a Dark Age kid at the time. I like there are some stuff I really like. Right now I'm pretty partial to the Coyote because this is Rose and Douglas's ride. I've got mine here. I played it at Masters and Minions. I know that Andrew Arthur is in chat, and he has those big, beautiful bigatures of Rose and Douglas's Coyote, which is just like jaw dropping if you ever get to see it in person. So I'm a big fan of the Coyote. I'm weirdly a big fan of the Albatross. If you've ever played with that weird Albatross C sooty Albatross, that one was one of mine. I got to do that. That was fun. So that's one of my favorite designs I've ever done. There's a couple of things that are coming that are some of my favorites that I can't tell you about because they're not public yet. So there's also that.
Awesome.
What mech am I playing today?
I want to read this for you too. John Brewer in chat says, on top of everything else, Stephen does a great job powering the BattleTech community in their local area. It's very much worth calling out how many individuals Stephen has helped bring in. So thank you for that.
I thank you, folks, for anybody who's from the local area who's watching this. Like, I genuinely want to thank my local players. It is a lot of fun to play in my area, and I've put a lot of work into building the community here, but also there's been a lot of people coming around, which like this is the most fun part of being in BattleTech right now, is it like everybody who's been in BattleTech for a long while has the stories of like the fallow years, the times when it's like, hey, I heard that there's a store where one person who works there knows about BattleTech. I'm going to go there and see if I can talk to him for like 5 minutes. And now there are dozens of different like local game store channels in just the one state that I'm in my local community Discord, and any given weekend you can go and play BattleTech and play Alpha Strike or play Classic or play a role-playing game or play a space game, like anything. And like as much as like I do my best to build the community. This community is awesome, and I love being a part of it, and I love seeing it grow and putting it together and watching people look at the things that like I got to help with and seeing them be very excited about things that I did or things that my friends who I'm writing with and working with did. So like I really love the BattleTech community, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of it.
Cool. To answer the question about Shadowrun Crossfire, we're doing a reprint first before we do any work toward an expansion. We got to have more of the first before we can have second. Eat your broccoli. I say that a lot. I don't know why. So we're getting a reprint of Crossfire moving before we start deving any expansion. So nothing, my guess is nothing for 2025. Let's see. Matthew, why aren't the bases of miniatures textured so that the basing material sticks better to it? I'll send it to, we'll see if Randall's around. I feel a little bit bad because I know he's still catching up on everything. But if he sees it, right?
I mean, I can say I feel this person's pain as somebody who likes to do modeling work, but also you have an X-Acto blade, my dude. Like, on some level, like, cool, yes, but also, do you know how hard it is to remove something with like a hatching from a mold? Harder than a flat thing in volume. I don't know, I'm talking out my butt here. I don't make miniatures, I just work with them, but yeah, I know I have all of the same frustrations that people have with miniatures, but also
I don't know.
you gotta get them out the door.
He sees it, so we'll see. It's Skype, so it shows me when he looks. So we'll see if he has a second to respond or not, and we'll come back to it. Oh, he's typing now. I see that. What else? The answer is just not something we thought about at the time. At the time that they started this, it wasn't on the radar, I guess.
People now forget how much of a novelty the idea of having high quality BattleTech miniatures was for a while. Like, yeah, we are spoiled these days.
I got another question, and I might have an answer for you, Matanuska Mechworks, about the next printing of Alpha Strike Commanders Edition. I want to say it was done for the Mercenaries campaign, and that they were all sent to QML first for fulfillment. But I'm just interested now if I have anything.
I assume there's always another printing coming at this point.
Yeah, always. I haven't gotten this week's inventory sheet yet. I could look at last week's one. It'll take me a minute to pull up though. So while that's loading, oh, it looks like that one was the last question. So I will just pull it up while we are here. Downloads. It's a big spreadsheet.
Yeah, any of the internal spreadsheets. Like I have a couple of like author reference spreadsheets that like my computer is unhappy when I open them. I don't think people realize how much behind how much of a reference library you need for either the business or the writing side of all of this. Like while you're doing that. Okay, go.
Fulfillment, we don't have any in stock at the warehouse, so they're all still at QML. So once fulfillment is done and all the leftovers are shipped to us, they'll get checked in, and then we'll get that updated and see if we need any an additional order. But should be soon.
Fingers crossed. One last kind of Ilkon's Eyes only kind of shall we say tease. I won't say anything about what's in this section, but I do want to tease that, like, in addition to the narrative section, one of the things we aimed for with Ilkhan's Eyes Only was for it to be a like kind of one-stop shop for like what's going on in the inner sphere up to 3152. So there's a whole extra section in the back that was one of my favorite parts to work on. That is in like updates from around the sphere, kind of similar to the like last section of the Ilklan source book, but even more expanded. That's got, you know, summaries of various developments. So if you haven't read Tamar Rising and Empire Alone and Dominions Divided, it'll have like some small summaries of what's going on elsewhere in the sphere, and also some new, cool, interesting plot hooks and things that might be happening or might not be happening. Who knows? So just, you know, a little bit of a tease there.
Awesome. The last thing I'm going to do then, since we're at the end of the line for questions, is I'm going to pull up the link for the Voltron Kickstarter, because that should be launching very, very, very soon. I have it's funny. So right before I got on with you, Stephen, Lauren called me on Skype, and I was like, bad timing, because we're going through final review of Voltron. So to make sure, like, if we find something that's too wrong, then it's not going to probably launch this year. But if we get all the go-aheads, then we're launching like within the next week or two. So,
well, I mean, it's defending the universe. You got to get it right.
You got to get it right. So let me put that link. Are you the right one? You are. Putting that link in chat. We're excited about Voltron. Like the excitement around this, like going to GameholeCon, we went to VoltCon. People are really excited. And it's one or the other. They're either excited about the new one or they're excited about the old one. There's never like, ooh, I want them both. It's people are like, oh yeah, on whichever their favorite is. So, all right, that link is in chat, so please follow that project. That should be launching very soon. And then, gosh, Stephen, thank you for coming and ad-libbing with me through bad tech issues and pulling up documents everywhere and talking about what's coming. I really appreciate it.
It's always fun to talk with you, Rem, and I'm as excited as anybody else for the stuff that's coming out, because I get to talk about stuff now. Do you know how hard it is to sit for like a year on like, hey, I just came up with this really cool idea and nobody's gonna see it for a year or more.
It must be really hard too to sit like at your game store and play games and people like, there should be blah blah blah, and you're like,
yeah, no, that's a great idea. I wonder if they're gonna do anything with that.
You're subtle like a brick.
I try.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us. And next week is PAX Unplugged, but I'm not flying out until the morning of PAX and stream. So I get to be at the airport at like 4 a.m. and then go entertain you guys all day. So I should be here next week. If I'm not for some reason, I'll let you know. But until next time, thanks, guys.
Hey, remember to hydrate on the trip, Rem.
Don't give me good advice.